How you going?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Yep. Loving life.
That's
just
it?
Pretty much, man.
Have you've been taking care of your girlfriend at the moment, haven't you?
Yeah. And that's been great. I'm telling you, the more that I'm forced into just like not leaving a room, the better. I would really enjoy solitary confinement as long as I had access to the net, which you don't get in solitary confinement, so did suck.
No, I think that's the whole point of solitary confinement. You get nothing.
Yeah, well...
Do you get a toilet in solitary confinement?
Yes. I mean, look, I can't talk for like Thailand, but in Australia, I am sure that you have a toilet. Like, how medieval would that be? You get a bucket. Are you... See,
I'm trying to Google if you get solitary... Do you get a toilet?
I guess this is the perfect example of why you need the net.
Do you get a toilet in solitary confinement?
Australia, you have to put that in.
Well,
we're not finding out what's going on in bloody Tajikistan.
All cells have metal toilets.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay.
And this is brutal, no lid.
What?
Yeah, so you're just going straight in the hole. So it's just like sitting on the porcelain rim every time you're doing a shit.
How do you know so much about solitary confinement?
Because I've seen one documentary on it. And
that's all you need.
Everybody said it sucked. So, confirmed, Neel. Your hypothesis was correct.
That solitary confinement sucks.
Yeah. Well, look,
it's a prison for prison, so you'd hope that it sucks.
Yeah, the Tasmania of individuals.
Huh?
Well, you know how, like, Australia was a penal colony, and then if you were naughty, you got sent to Tasmania.
Oh, I didn't know that.
What's our Norfolk Island?
Was that a thing?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that was
so
the
convicts of the convicts went to Tasmania.
If they just kept misbehaving, they just put them in the naughty corner.
Wow.
It's so fitting that it's Tasmania.
Yeah.
There's a special kind of rough there. And then Norfolk Island was the tough one. So if you were too bad for Tasmania, they shipped you off to Norfolk. And
how many people still live in Norfolk Island?
Hundreds. That's about it. Maybe it's thousands, but no, because I remember that years ago.
So they're the descendants of the convicts of the convicts of the convicts.
They must be. And maybe, as we were discussing before...
But
yeah.
Was there an actual prison there, or was it just you're being a bit naughty, but you haven't done anything criminal, go to Tasmania, go to Norfolk Island?
Look, I think that you went to Tasmania for being a little more than a bit naughty. I mean, look, it's all comparative now because it's just like, you stole a sheep, did you? So they probably just put him there. But yeah, in Norfolk Island, I don't even think that they bothered with jails. I could be wrong about that, but it was a tiny island. It was a prison by itself. It was just like, kind of like that Mexican thing of, like, they basically just build a walled city and then chuck all their trash in there and say, you can do what you want in there.
Is that real? Because I know there was a season of Prison Break based on that. That was a great
How
season.
good was it?
Yeah, Prison Break died after that season.
Yeah, what happened to that? Because I just remember watching that and then, like, it didn't exist all of a sudden.
No, I did. There was a season 4. It was the worst thing I've ever seen.
What happened?
Because I was loyal to the show, I watched it, but... Oh, man.
Did you watch it on free-to-air, or did you have to get DVDs?
I watched it when it came out on free-to-air, and then I've rewatched it on Netflix.
Season 4.
There's a season 4 and a season 5 that they made 3 years ago.
Did you watch?
I watched a few episodes of season 5. I couldn't. It was just not good. And I bought it on iTunes.
Sorry. Like, I know we've got other things to discuss, but you have to lay it on me. Just tell me what happens in season 4 and season 5.
So
I don't care. You're listening to this, all right?
In season 4, they've, if I remember correctly, they've gotten out of that prison. I don't think it was Mexico. It's some other Costa Rica or
some shit.
Panama.
Yeah,
They've
basically Mexico.
The Panamanian. Is it Panamanian?
Probably.
Panamanian prison, and they've all gotten together. Even including the FBI agents that were trying to bring them to justice. They've all gotten together, and they're trying to take down a big company that is responsible for framing the brother in the first place. So they're on this reconnaissance mission trying to get all this intel, and then at one point the FBI agent's son gets murdered by an assassin.
Oh, that's no good.
And then he murders the assassin, and then there's this Asian guy on there who's just terrible. The character's not funny in the slightest. He's like the IT.
What, he's supposed to be
He's meant to be
comical
the
relief?
no. He's meant to be the tech guru that can hack into all the systems, and he just wasn't funny at all. I think he's meant to be the comedic relief, and then
It wasn't that guy that's now a doctor that's Korean that is
No.
basically famous for that gay meme.
no, not that guy. Not that guy. It was a younger guy.
Yeah.
And what else happened in the end?
So that's the end of his career as well. Because
Probably.
Wentworth Miller hasn't done anything, surely.
Not that I know of.
Yeah.
I think he was
So he
in.
probably did season 5 of Prison Break.
Yeah, he did. There was a season 5. It came out only 3 years ago, and that I watched 2 episodes. So at the end of season 4, the Wentworth Miller character is he dies, because there's like an epilogue where they all take down the company, but then something happens. So, I forget his name in the show, but the Wentworth Miller character finally marries Sarah, I think her name was. But then right at the end of the wedding, they get chased or something. They end up in a prison again. And then someone has to... There's some electricity grid that has to... There has to be a connection. And so he touches it. And then I can't even remember what happens. But then the gate opens. They all escape. But he supposedly dies. And then it turns out...
Psych.
It turns out the FBI had to capture him. And then 6 years later, he's in a Tunisian... he's in a prison in Yemen... where the wars...
This is season 5?
Yeah, that proxy war's going on.
Yeah.
And
that makes sense.
And then there's just anarchy in Yemen, and then they're trying to break him out of Yemen, and I just gave up. I was like, this is too much. I couldn't watch
No,
it.
that's okay.
It's okay.
No, I mean, look, as in, it's okay that you didn't do your duty. You tried your best. But I think we're just going to have to leave this over to the commenters. If you finish season 5, take it off from where Neel ended.
It's not even
I'm
on.
not watching that.
I think a different production company did it or something, because it's not on
Yeah?
Netflix. All the other 4 are on Netflix, and I was really enjoying it. So I bought season 5 on iTunes, which, when you buy a season on iTunes, it's like $30 or something. And I watched 2 episodes and I gave
3 months
up.
of Netflix. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the only place this is available
From
where you get your keshes.
legally. I mean, I'm sure it's on, what is it? Putlocker or whatever.
Yeah.
Everything's
I mean, like,
on it.
but one of those ones that's like it's getting really niche now. Because I tried going into this anime that I got momentarily obsessed with. So thank God it's not One Piece. I'm not going down that hole like everybody else has. That's the end of your life. It's like World of Warcraft and One Piece. I've never seen something destroy so many lives.
What's One Piece?
Crack. It's just an anime about like a skinny kid that can extend his arms. It's a
That's
very
it.
common theme in anime. Why is there always one character who's like... I don't know why they're obsessed with that. It's just being like,
metaphor?
yeah, they can't fly, but yeah.
Is it a symbol for something?
Probably.
Reaching for the stars? I don't know. I never got into anime.
Nothing.
You know who gets
did.
into
You did get
anime?
into anime. You did. You got into Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon.
Oh, yes.
All right, the truth
My
comes
favorite was
out.
Digimon. Yeah, okay.
Damn.
They are all anime, hey?
Yeah, they are all anime, but like.
But I didn't get
this is
into that niche anime in high school. There's always the
Digimon-
weebs that
Oh yeah, okay.
loved some weird Korean stuff.
Where
probably
half
not
the
weird.
characters
It's
are
weird
like
to me.
furry animals,
Yeah.
half human, half animal.
It's always the Asians in the school, or the white dudes, or there's like one black guy. They're the ones.
Yeah,
who are
why?
into anime.
Why?
But Indians don't get into anime.
Well, that's also like
Brown-
something.
any-
I don't know why they're not into it.
No, Indians or like any brown like wogs don't get into anime. There's no way.
Just FIFA.
Dimitri's like, yeah, bro, did you watch the anime on the weekend? Have you seen that?
But dude, why is like one very muscly black dude into it? That's a real mystery of life. I really need to understand that point, because that's the same thing as when I went
Fetish?
to Korea.
Maybe.
Yeah, probably. I mean, that's pretty much everyone, isn't it?
That's why everyone's into it.
Yeah. It's just like, I don't like moles.
Yeah, how long have you had yellow fever for? Like, was there a point when you were an adolescent where you said, wow, I love Asian women?
No, and this is getting pretty Freudian actually now that I think about it. But as soon as I was in
There's just
preschool,
a really
'cause there
hot
was this
lady that
point-
worked at the pork roll bar near your house.
Probably. No, they were fat Greeks. There wasn't any Asians.
What, Greeks running the pork roll bar?
Because they didn't exist. There was some Asians in
What?
Marrickville. That was it.
Vietnamese, they've been all over Sydney for decades.
Not in their numbers. Because they figure out ways to get their relatives in that
Right.
dodge the laws.
So they're all just in
But like,
Cabramatta.
yeah, it kind of just, there
Okay.
was an onslaught after the Vietnam War, then it kind of just trickled out throughout the 80s, and then, the 90s was kind of there. But like, I think that's just basically what's happening. I reckon it's just a big illegal citizenship racket. From what I've heard from my Vietnamese girlfriend who's talking about like friends that she knows of and shit that always have like some lawyer that's at the top of one of those bakeries essentially just being like, this is how you get around the law. Anyway.
Yeah, every ethnic group is that's
They've
how
got that.
that's how they first make money in Western countries. They have to do something illegal. The first generation, look at the mob in New York. It was all Italian. Well, first it was Irish, and then it was Italian.
Boston.
Yeah.
My girlfriend actually worked in a...
I wonder what Indians. We got to do something illegal.
Yeah, what the fuck do you guys do?
I don't know. The Chinese are
Sell
probably
rare spices. It was like nah, I don't think you
what are
actually
Chinese.
did.
Chinese are just
Chinese just
going around
counterfeit shit.
Yeah. Look at that.
Vietnamese
of all
were
the
gang
people, we're
members.
the honest ones. You go to India, everything you have to.
Dodge.
You have to. There's a lot of bribery and corruption.
Well,
So
dude.
to get your license, you just have to pay some guy. Apparently,
Oh,
or
yeah.
you do
no,
like
this
one
is- yeah.
little. You don't have to do 120 hours or anything like that.
Oh, that's standard third world country.
Yeah,
That's your
that's
entrance.
true.
Yeah. I think I could be wrong about this. I don't know, but I would imagine that what's the merchant class in India called? But I'd imagine that they'd be the ones that would have moved out of
Gujaratis.
India, huh?
No, that's just Gujaratis. I'm pretty sure they're known as the. I think they're like the Jews of the Indian cultures.
Yeah, fair. The Dratis.
I think. Maybe it's Bengali. No, it's not Bengali.
No, what the fuck's Bengali?
Bengalis are the ones from the south. Man,
Are these castes?
see. Whenever no, these aren't castes. These are just
Ethnicities.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whenever
No,
we
it's the-
delve into anything about India, I realize
You
my
blank
ignorance.
out.
I don't know. I'm so
I
whitewashed.
always feel like I'm like testing you.
I'm so whitewashed, man. It's that Russell Peters joke where he's like, for so long I thought I was Indian, then as soon as you land in India, he turned Canadian so fast. It's the exact same with me. Because you go up, I'm pretty sure I was the only Indian. There was one other Indian girl in my grade. And of course, everyone was like, do you guys have an arranged marriage?
It needs to be said.
And we did. No. No, she's South Indian, of course not.
Are you North Indian?
No, I'm like West Maharashtrian.
Oh, that's the iffy place. You're like Central Africa, aren't you? Isn't that where all the
No.
terrorists and shit are?
No,
Isn't it?
I don't think so.
Is it East India? There's a part
Man, I
of
don't
India
know.
that's like not really in control by the government. It's
I think
kinda
that's north. That's like Bihar or I don't actually know. I don't want to. I don't want to.
It's all
I feel like I'm gonna offend some Indians listening to this. I have
yeah,
no idea.
probably. You know what? Actually,
I have
you know
some
what? Indians
basic
get like
rudimentary
very
knowledge.
triggered. I remember once I just put up this god.
Man, they do.
I put up this god once on one of my front covers. It must have hit some Reddit thread in India or something. Huaman, that was his name. He's like the Hercules of India
yeah.
Hindu. You know that guy, the monkey.
No, but if you mock Hinduism and it goes to India, yeah,
They were pissed, man.
they'll yeah.
I didn't realize that they're such a zealot people. But that's the thing that's how Modi keeps India together, apparently. It's just like really baiting Hindus there. That's how you keep that nation.
I don't know if everyone. I'm sure because on Reddit you're probably getting the ones who are very offended by that particular post. I don't know if it's a it's a fair indication of the mentality of the entire country.
No, but like in India, the thing is, like, it's kind of the same thing as like when you go to Pakistan, it's just very prevalent, right? The thing that holds Pakistan together is the fact it's Muslim. It's just obvious everywhere you go. It is Muslim. That's Pakistan. And the reason that that's the difference between Pakistan and India is just the fact that after the British left, basically they were just trying to figure out how you're supposed to do that. And they were just being like, look, we need to separate those two religions because they just add each other. And so
Yeah.
the religion is real.
a big
Because
part.
that's the founding of those countries.
No,
It's just
I know,
like, it's whatever the religion is.
Yeah.
So it's like when we were saying, like, what's the thing
There are
that
more,
holds...
yeah, but there's Sikhism, and there are quite a few Christians, Muslims, and even Buddhists in India as well. But yes, I think it's
But it's like
70 to 80,
overwhelming, right?
70 to 80%, I think, are Hindu.
Yeah, and then I think like Muslim is 15% or something. So
But
it's like
in a country of
tiny-
1.2 billion, that's a lot.
Still fucking huge.
That's
That's
a lot.
probably like 50 Australians.
That's, yeah. I don't really...
You've been there though, right?
Yeah, but I'm not qualified to get into a conversation about the geopolitics and the current
Fair,
social
fair.
situation
But did
in
you
India.
did you like it when you were there? Because look, I would say it about Pakistan. Like, I am so glad I don't live in
It
Pakistan.
was eye-opening.
Yeah, that's the thing you get.
Yeah, look, I liked it. I liked experiencing it. And every time I go there, I like it more. It was definitely a shock the first time I went there. It was just
How old were
it was
you?
a big culture shock. 15.
Yeah,
No, I liked it.
but like, okay, could you live there?
I could, yeah.
I mean, like, I guess I could live in Pakistan if I wanted, but like, if someone was just like, "Do you want to live in Pakistan or Turkmenistan?" I'd be like, "Turkmenistan, take me there now."
Okay.
Is it
I've
like,
never been to Turkmenistan.
but there's like, okay, out of all the countries that you've been to, where would that rank as where you would prefer to live?
But look, I've only really visited. I've visited America, Canada, the UK, Singapore, New Zealand, India, Hong Kong, China, for a day.
Well, what's the list go of where you'd want to live?
But, I mean, it's
It's
hard to
definitely
get
Australia,
a,
isn't it?
Well,
Australia's
yes.
number one.
Yeah, of course, but that's also because there's the sense of familiarity, and
Dude, I don't
I
think so. I
know
think
Australia.
That's true, but
all my friends and things are here. But are we talking about just hypothetically? Let's just say, I wasn't even brought up in Australia. I was just some sort of neutral person, and I could choose one of them. I spent a week in all these countries, and
yeah.
then. Well, you'd have to still go Australia because
Yeah.
if you're just spending a week in all these countries, you look at Australia and be like, oh, even compared to America, well, the living standards here for the average person are the best. In
And
America,
also-
there's a lot of homeless people.
Yeah.
I did not in Hollywood as well. You think Hollywood? Oh, it's Tinseltown, beautiful people walking around. There's a lot of poverty there. I went very soon after the GFC. It seems to have improved.
You know, they've still got huge homeless towns there, especially in California. California has a
Okay.
really bad homeless problem.
I didn't notice as many the other times I went, but then again,
Really?
I'm not really going to the I didn't go
You're
to
not going
South
to the
Central.
Skid Row. Yeah.
That would be such a like a Aussie who loves rap thing to do. Like some Aussie middle class guy who loves rap. He's like, oh, I'm going to Inglewood, man. I want to see Snoop Dogg, bro. Oh, this is sick, eh? Yeah. No, I really relate to like the message in a lot of like Kendrick's songs, man. Like I know what
Yeah.
it's like, man. Like my parents got divorced. Like I know what it's like, man. I've heard there's an act, man. I heard a guy say something like that. He was talking about a Dave Chappelle bit. You know that Dave Chappelle bit where it's like getting crack cocaine in the ghetto and then having to deal with all the sketchy characters and then a baby pops out. Have you heard that?
Love it.
Yeah, and this guy is just clearly from a private school. It was somewhere in Queensland, just Gold Coast. Very well dressed. And he's talking about it like, yeah, I love that Dave Chappelle because it's so true, eh? Like I know exactly what he's talking about. And I'm like, you do not know what he's fucking talking about. You've not been to the hood in America.
Was this one of your fans after a show?
No,
or
it
something?
was just a friend of a friend. I was just getting drinks with my friend and he was there.
How old was this guy? Because I do remember thinking sort of
Probably
like that
like
when
20?
I was like 18. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Still
that's
sort of
true. That's
passable.
true. Yeah.
There's just a point
I was
where
like,
you're an adolescent that rap really speaks to you.
Yeah, I was brown in the Shire. I relate.
Yeah.
I know what it's like.
My house had a trampoline. That's it. I know that's always...
I got
don't know
called
what
curry
it is.
muncher. That's like the N-word.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I really don't understand why that really... Because, dude, now when I listen to rap, it's just for a laugh. It's just this thing of like,
Same.
this is stupid.
You know what? Even
but like when I was back there, I was like, yeah, true, man.
Oh, man, I'm exactly the same. Even the really serious rap that's meant to be meaningful and
It's
for the
lame.
critics, it's lame. In fact, that's even more lame.
I know.
We're trying to be all serious.
You know what it is? It's because they're just being like very... They're either gloating about their life heaps or talking about how sorry they are for themselves, but there's no
there's
levity,
no in
there's
between.
no humour there. It's
No.
always very serious.
That's why early Eminem was so good because he had such a comedic element to his rap.
You know what?
Even the Aussie rappers, they're just so... The ones that I like are the ones that take the piss. That's what you're meant to do in Australia. The ones that are way too serious. I mean, look, we're all very sorry that you grew up in like a housing
Campbelltown.
commission or whatever,
Yeah.
but I don't want to...
Yes,
Maybe
shut
that's
up.
mean, but like, I don't want to, let's stop feeling sorry for yourself. That'll come back to haunt me one day.
No, it won't. Why would that...
will.
I think that's like a very non-controversial opinion. Most people are going to be pretty down with that.
You reckon?
Yeah. Look, that's the other thing about... I think they're just... Dude, the medium's sort of old. I know that you can get like different sounds, but the vast majority of rap that permeates pop culture to any degree. I mean, look, there's going to be people in there that are just like, what about this indie rapper? Have you thought about that? And it's like, nah, because I've got other things to do. Like the ones that come into my life.
Yeah.
It's done. It's a really old formula at this point. There's not really changing.
Yeah,
And it's...
after the 90s, it really... I mean,
Yeah, it got...
was there really... did it really reach the heights that it did in the 80s and 90s in terms of the political and social significance? I think it did, but in a faux sort of way.
Because what happened,
Yeah,
like, it
that'd
just
be-
would have been like your NWAs and maybe, I guess, Snoop Dogg back then or whatever, which is basically his new... Well, not his newest album, but the album before. Did you ever listen to Never Left?
No.
That was exactly what we're talking about now. That was
Okay.
an ode to sadness. It was, dude, you're not a pimp anymore. You're not a gangster. You haven't been for 20 years. What you do now is tweet about, like, bitchy comments about Katy Perry. You're basically a mean girl now.
So you're
an
calling
old man mean girl.
Are you calling out Snoop Dogg? Can we
I'm
say
calling
it
him
here?
out. You're done.
You say it
You're
here
done,
on the-
Snoop.
On this
It's
podcast,
over.
Friendly Geordies is calling out
I've had it up to
Snoop
here.
Dogg.
No, I'm just, like, I'm
Man,
not.
he still has his... I don't know, he might
stay-
still
stay.
have his connections.
I don't
Next
think
time
he
is in-
does. That's what I'm saying. I think he's completely out of that world.
Famous
He is an
last words.
A-lister. He's not even A-lister. You know what he is? He's us. He's a social influencer now. Like, he just does a podcast like us. He, like, releases albums that no one listens to, like most social influencers. He is. That's him. He's like, and that album was just being like, yeah, man, I'm still from the LBC, man. Ain't shit changed. It was just... I don't know, man. Like, straight before that, you were just saying that Iggy Azalea looks like one of the fucking dudes in White Chicks. That was the thing I remember you saying before that, and you're saying that, like, yeah, I still pimp bitches. You don't. I'm done. That was like your point about Eminem
Okay.
is like what I have about Snoop Dogg now. It's just like, dude, the dream is over. You know what it is? It's that point. I think we're just lucky when it comes to comedians. You never get to that point where you're just like this global pussy magnet like rappers and rock stars are. But there's very few rappers and rock stars.
Boy can dream.
A boy can dream. But there's like
I'll get
very
there one
few. Like
Russell
gee,
Brand did it.
Yeah, but
Can you call him a comedian?
see, the thing is about Russell Brand. Don't you think when you look at Russell Brand, you're just
Now,
like,
if you think about society and the way that it intermingles and intersects with other cultures, and a white man and the way that the white man has colonized the rest of the world, and the way that we've done this historically prejudiced ideas about society and culture is embedded in our consciousness. And if we can elevate our consciousness to the next level, and please buy my bookie wookie, because I use a lot of big words and I act like I'm really smart, but in reality I'm a drug addict. Just talks really smart but doesn't say anything, and white girls are like, oh my god, he's hot.
yeah, because
He sounds smart.
It's because he looks like a rock star. That's why they're attracted to him. It's not even the thing that he sounds smart. It's just the fact he's like, I got long hair and I wear one of those vests without a shirt. Yeah. That's the reason that he's famous. It's because, like, well, it's not famous, but, like, that's the reason that he's, like, a global pussy magnet. It's not because of the comedian aspect. It's because he's just a rock star that does comedy. He has that aura about him. So, like, it's possible, but, like...
Eddie Murphy did it.
Again, though, don't you think? He had, like, a kind of...
He was an act... His stand-up was impressions.
His stand-up was impressions.
Raw was. The one in purple was actually really good stand-up.
He's a movie star. It's... Again, like, you look at him and he's got this kind of pop star aura about him.
Yeah.
Like, the way that he's dressing, the way that he's holding himself.
Mm.
And, like, what you're saying as well, it's kind of like a performance thing. But, look, that's neither here nor there because there's, like, other performers that aren't like that, I guess. But, yeah, like, all of these ones, it's just kind of, like, all I ever think about when I think of, like, their shows is, like, are you ready to rock? That's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's true because their main fan base would all be in their 50s now.
Oh, yeah. So...
Yeah, I'll put the kids to bed. Now I'm going to be gangster going to the Snoop concert.
Damn. You know what, though, actually? I will say this. Snoop Dogg, and this is the whole thing, it's just like the dream is over for him as a rapper. And Snoop Lion, I think universally the world said, no, that's not happening. Sorry. But I think that does actually work really well for him is podcasts.
A lot of those older guys are
Joe
getting
Rogan.
into podcasting.
Yeah. I like his podcast so much more than like all those other, like celebrities that try that shit out. He's got stories, but he's also just, you know what it is? It is the fact that he was a rapper. And as I've said before, I think it's just musicians know beats. They know how to keep a conversation going where it should be flowing. They understand the melody of conversation. So he's really good at it.
Okay.
But also, like, he's a rapper, so he kind of brags every now and then. You're like, don't do that.
I'll have to check that one out.
You haven't seen it? It's
no,
all right. It's all right.
So we've usually spent about 10 to 15 minutes with the banter to start off with, but I think on this episode we've...
25 minutes.
About 25.
Thanks, guys.
So we're nearly halfway through.
Good on you.
What was the... what was it? Just skip to here if you want.
Worse. Yeah. We might even put a marker in this, but look.
That's a good little segue because you're talking about the magnetism of certain people in conversation. So you wanted to talk about making friends, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. And not because I have a problem. Because I was looking at all of the comments on my self-help channel. The most requested... Look, I honestly thought it would be puss. But people are so sad because of the net now that they're just wondering how to make human contact, how to make friends.
Is that just everyone or is that just your fans?
It could be just my fans. That's true. This is a small sample audience. But don't you think that rings true for the net? In general, there's going to be a lot of lonely souls there.
The fanatics on any YouTube account are probably people who lack a social life.
Yep.
Hence their ability to obsess over certain YouTubers and spend hours on end on the platform.
If they're just
it's their solace, and it's because there's that really personable feel when you're seeing someone on the screen, especially an internet creator, because they're usually just in their bedroom, they're in somewhere very accessible. That's more that I think gives more a sense of kinship and connection than seeing someone in the bright lights of the television screen.
Yes.
Like you feel like YouTubers
it's less
are your
artificial.
friends, I think you feel like YouTubers are your friends. You feel like actors are
Above
stars.
Mysterious.
That's what's
They have a mystique about them.
It's very hard to.
They're trying to be inaccessible. Actors are trying to not be your friend.
Because that's the whole point of being a celebrity or a star, at least historically, was to have an enigma about you, to be something separate, something extra, almost like a godlike figure.
Doesn't really exist anymore, does it? Because of social media. Even like the sheen. Okay, for instance, with
Some
Snoop
of the
Dogg.
pop stars,
Huh?
say like some of your Ariana Grande and Adele's and the singers still seem to have
Yeah, but are they as
the dating
are they
element.
as like held in high regard as Britney Spears and Madonna were in their peak?
No.
They can't be.
Yeah.
Even if you've got a curated social media outlet and things,
Yeah.
just because everything's instantaneous.
Exactly. And
if
you're
you just
so-
lose your shit at a customer or
Yeah,
something.
because there's so much content being pushed out on all the social medias. You're just so open to making a mistake and misstepping, and then that brings you straight back down to
Instantly.
earth. As soon as someone gets cancelled, or even if they just write a questionable tweet or have an opinion, suddenly everyone realizes, okay, this person's not a character.
dead to me.
They're
Yeah.
they're just an individual with a lot of status and money. And now people are calling out. I mean, I've seen this as soon as the lockdown started. You know, the celebrities did those really cringy videos, and everyone was calling them out.
That was horrible.
Yeah, they were so bad.
You're talking about that Imagine?
Yeah, there's that, and there was a few others just of celebrities sitting there in a jacuzzi saying like, "I'm enjoying this. I think this is a time we all need to come together." Just cliches like that, and they were getting destroyed, and rightfully so. I mean, how out of touch are you?
It's not their medium. I think it's the same thing as, look, Jack Black could go onto YouTube because he basically was a YouTuber that infiltrated Hollywood before YouTube existed.
But Leonardo DiCaprio could not go.
No,
Imagine
no.
that.
And it's the same with Will Smith. Like when he was doing his
He's
when
kind of
doing
big. He's
YouTubing.
done it all right. I think.
No, he's like, yes, he's big, but he's not respected by the YouTube community like Jack Black
Sure.
is.
Yeah.
And I think it's because
Because YouTubers are weirdos and people who don't fit into normal society, and that's why they've gained attention on the internet, because they've filled a niche that wasn't otherwise filled by Hollywood and the TV industry.
Yeah.
And those industries are going to appeal to the mainstream. Or, I mean, even in America, when you've got cable, you don't necessarily have to appeal to the mainstream, but you still have to appeal to a large sector of the population. Whereas if you're online, you can appeal to whatever tiny little niche you want to appeal to. And I think that brings about a sense of camaraderie with the internet community. The knowledge that, hey, we're all
Weirdos
a
united.
little bit weird.
Yeah.
There's something a bit different about us. We wouldn't have been able to just make it prior to the internet.
But yeah, it's kind of like, collectively it's kind of just appealing to a little weird aspect of everyone on Earth.
Yeah.
Because there is a little niche that everyone's going to be into.
That's exactly it. But let's
Yeah.
So making friends. Sorry, what was that? What did we even get sidetracked on?
dude,
We're
that-
talking about
That
YouTubers.
feeds into it though.
Yeah, that's right. The people on your so the people on your YouTube self-help channel, they're saying they want to know how to make friends.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Why don't they just make a community out of themselves? They all have that in common. They watch your videos.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that what you do is you find groups that you're interested in, and they're just like, but how do you make it go to human contact? And this is the point, is that, yes, you know, like tracks alike. You always meet your level of water in life. I think it's true in romantic relationships as it is with the people you hang around with. If you're just on the same wavelength as someone, it kind of just naturally goes from there. Because you just... I don't know. It's like it's automatic. It's automatic.
There are
It
certain
happens.
people. There are well, I guess classically popular people. Their process is very effortless when they make friends. They can just walk into any social situation. And people are like, yeah, we love that guy.
Yes.
Whereas for some people, it can be tricky. I mean, they had a chapter on this in. Have you read Emotional Intelligence?
Yeah.
Yeah, classic, but of course you've read that. They had a chapter on that where kids who were trying to befriend a certain friend group, the ones that had issues like anxiety and such, they would go in and they would try to become the leader of the group, or they'd try too hard to appease the group. Whereas the ones that were popular and maybe had less or didn't have any of those social ailments, if you will, they just went in and they didn't suck up, but there was something effortless about the way they attempted to join the group. They didn't try to take the spotlight. They didn't try to disagree too heavily with the leaders of the group. They just managed to understand the cues and see what they needed to say at the right time in order to still feel like, okay, like I can have status in this particular group, but I'm also going to respect the current leadership ladder that exists.
You know what it is? It's just self-esteem. Self-esteem equals having good social skills.
You know what? The last year or two of my life, I'm just consistently reminded about how important self-esteem is. So many issues that people face, it all comes down to self-esteem.
Yeah.
Face relationship issues, addiction.
Yeah.
Social problems. A lot of it just comes down to self-esteem.
And
you can fix that, then all the other things will...
Yeah, because, dude, it's so true. Like, if someone has low self-esteem... You know what as well? It's really obvious when you're watching comedians who has low self-esteem. Because comedy at its best is kind of just an extension of a social group. It is kind of just like going into a social group and talking. It makes it easier when you've got your own little enclave and you've...
A little bit. There's a performative aspect to it that doesn't exist in a...
Yeah, but like it's not like acting...
No, but there is a
but there's performing. There's performing.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's also
a little bit. There can be acting involved.
There can be acting involved, but like stand-up comedy is an art. You're kind of just putting yourself on display as a character and kind of just like enhancing certain aspects, and then like you've got your little elements of just putting on impressions and impersonations and all that kind of stuff as well. But I think you can just always tell where somebody's psychology is at when they're on stage. Like, it's just very obvious because like a lot of the time they'll either be like they'll be trying too hard to show the audience that their life is mad, which who cares? And they'll also be sitting there just being like, my life's real as shit, and it's just like, okay, this is beyond self-deprecation. This is just a really sad, lame cry for help.
When people are insecure and feel like they have something to prove, that comes across really easily. And that's not just in social settings and stand-up. This is everywhere.
Yeah, it's just an extension of it.
There was a show I was watching on Netflix. I can't remember what it was, like the Battle of the Sexes or something. They did various tests where they'd have a group of men and a group of women, and
is that like 2 girls for 15 guys, that kind of thing?
No, not that one. I've seen that. That's a good YouTube channel, but not that one. This was on Netflix, and they were attempting to answer the question: are men actually funnier than women? And so they would have a few men deliver a joke, and they'd have women come on stage and deliver the exact same joke, and to different audiences, but there was still a control group with the audiences. Some jokes overlapped, some didn't, things like that. But you could... Now, I'm not saying every female comedian does this or anything, but on average, the women that there didn't do comedy, they were trying really hard, whereas there was something really effortless and laid back about the way the men delivered the joke. They kind of just sat there and they said, okay, so this is the joke, hope you laugh. Whereas the women, they overacted a lot and they tried to put a lot of energy into it. It didn't seem natural. Now, that's obviously a very small sample group. And
no, but it's just an evolutionary trait. It is. It's like, even if you're not trying to be a professional comedian as a guy, you are just constantly joking and sparring with your friends. That's how men interact.
There's more at stake because a man who has a sense of humor immediately becomes a lot more attractive to women. Now, look, I also like a woman with a sense of humor. Don't get me wrong, but I think for most men that has less significance when they're looking for a partner.
Yeah, way less significance. There's no evolutionary need for it. But there definitely is when it comes to joking with a guy. Because it actually shows strong social acuity if you're able to do it. And there's also, because that's always the same thing. It's always just like comedy is greatly linked to, I can't even remember the word. Now it's just self-esteem's just in my mind, but it's insecurity.
Oh,
If
for
you're
sure.
very insecure on stage, that's like, dude, I swear, it doesn't matter what you're saying. If you're secure on stage, you're going to do better than somebody who, even if like Chris Rock wrote you a stand-up show and was just like, perform this, but you're nervous, it's not going to do anything.
Yeah, and
But like a guy that just goes up on stage and like is just kind of like relaxed on stage and comfortable there, he's going to do better than that guy.
Of
Way
course.
better.
Yeah, and that applies in a social setting when you're talking about making friends as well.
Yeah.
If you're secure with yourself, you're confident, you're comfortable, you can go into any social setting and make friends.
It's effortless. Because you know what? It was actually, I was talking about it on the pod with Mislav, and Mislav is just one of the most sociable people I've ever met in my life. And he was just like, it was so removed from his world because he's never been in a social situation in his entire life where he's felt uncomfortable because he just has supreme social skills. And so he was just like, look, it's such a pathetic, but it's like, you didn't know his privilege, but like it was that kind of thing, right? Like it was just so removed from his reality that someone would be scared in a social situation that he was just like, dude, you just talk to people. That's where his mind is, because there's definitely a certain type of human being that is that's able to do it, and it's he's just really comfortable with life as it comes. It doesn't matter what it is. You know, like the thing that I'm always thinking about is he went to Europe with like $4,000 for a year, and he like slept under bridges.
Such a Newtown. That's such a Newtown thing to do.
I know. So, like it was scared me. Like homeless in Europe.
Why?
You know, like sleeping on people's couches. Because this is how his mind works. He's just so comfortable doing whatever he's doing that when he was just like under the bridge, he was like, oh, yeah, this is pretty funny, and then just went to sleep.
Well, it was just would it just have been one night?
No.
Multiple nights
like
he was homeless.
Weeks at a time.
He was homeless for weeks.
Dude, like the whole time he was homeless, basically. Like he just slept on someone's couch that he like barely knew from school until it got so awkward and weird that he was forced to get off it. Like he just floated. Like okay, at the airport when he came
It's
back.
an extreme example.
Yeah, but like, dude, he like on the airport ride back. This is just classic him. He's just so immersed in the present moment that he missed his flight back to Australia, and he had no money the entire time. It was a miracle that he was able to scrounge that up by doing like odd jobs in Europe to get the money to get the ticket back. So he just waited for 4 days, called his dad to just say like, give me the money for another ticket or whatever.
So we always knew we could call Dad in the end.
That's part of the security. Like, I'm not saying this, like, it's not...
Yeah.
Like, dude, the thing is,
be very
if I was
different.
in that situation and I had a dad that could bail me out and I was, like, sleeping one night under a bridge, I'd be like, this is inexcusable. Get me a hotel now.
Yeah, but I still think that'll be very different to someone who's genuinely homeless and has no one to call on.
Yeah, but that's the difference, right? Like, okay...
He'd always know at the back of his mind, okay,
Yeah.
this is temporary and I can get out of this whenever I want.
Yeah, he definitely has that. His parents are very loving parents. And they're like middle-class parents, so they can do that shit. But that's the difference, right? Is like the homeless person, depends on their circumstances, but most of the time they're probably just going to have crack addicts as parents or whatever, right? He like has that, he comes from like a loving background, so he just kind of is very comfortable in himself and stuff. But yeah, that airport thing was just insane. Like he was in the airport for 4 days, and he was just like making friends with the Croatian people that ran restaurants there, just being like, this is really pathetic, but like if you have any muffins at the end of the day, can you give me something? And they were just like, it's okay, I just make you some pasta. And they just started like feeding him, and he just became like a pet of the airport, and like the guards and stuff, and like the pilots and stuff were like, he's a Mislav, and he's just like, gosh, and just sleeping on the fucking uncomfortable chairs.
Okay, but can that archetype ever be taken seriously? I mean, he can make friends with people, but it's, as you said, in a pet sort of way. People,
what do you mean?
Like, would people respect that sort of person?
Yeah,
You think?
Yeah, dude.
But would they ever give someone like that a position of responsibility?
No, but that's because he has zero work ethic, and that's the thing that I think drives you and I, Neil, is the fact that like I think that we are both deeply unsatisfied people. And so like when you're unsatisfied, you're just constantly striving for something else. But
Sure.
he is extremely satisfied.
But
he's really, really satisfied with whatever.
Okay, but then, so his social strategy, if you will, is to be the happy-go-lucky guy that can always bring a smile to people.
Yeah.
Very positive.
Yeah.
Always comfortable.
Yeah.
Surely that would still have its limitations. I suppose when we're talking about in the context of making friends, that's the ideal person to be.
Yeah.
But in other situations, that sort of
Fails
personality
miserably.
would have its limitations.
Well, I mean, this is the other thing as well. He's one of the only people I know our age that has a house, and it's basically because he's just so likable that, like, you know, he just got a girlfriend that was just like, here you go, I'll just, like, sign all the stuff for you, and it's all right, you just work here and just go to this workplace, and you're like, okay, and just, he moves along because he's just kind of like this happy vibe, like dancing plasma thing that's just there, and like everyone's just like, yay, and so they kind of just bring him along for the ride. So
Fair,
it does
alright.
work.
Yeah, okay,
It's a survival strategy.
I suppose if we're talking to the people who are struggling to make friends, he can be like the David Goggins of friend making. So it's a very extreme example. Probably not. We're probably not suggesting to actually become like that, but take on board certain traits that he might have.
No, yeah, I think it's the fact that he is extremely absent of insecurity.
Yeah, that's what it comes down. If you want to make friends, you got to, before you deal with the actual act of making friends, you have to deal with your self-esteem.
I think that's it.
And
it reflects.
that comes down to, again, I just said this prior in the podcast as well, but that comes down to a lot of issues people face.
Yeah. This is a thing of, it's
And then
that
again,
classic, like, you work on the inner world, the outer world reflects it.
absolutely. And then again, working on your self-esteem, what does it come down to? Reading self-help. We say this
Every time.
basically every time.
Yeah, I say it every day on the self-help channel, and people are just like, I'm tired of it. Yeah, but are you doing it? No. So just fucking do it. Like, if you have any of these problems, it's always just this. But I'll also add this about self-esteem. It's actually very easy to correct it, I think, anyway. And it's basically just about changing your emotions. You just write down a list of the emotions that you experience throughout a week. In fact, actually, now that I think about it, like, I'll just do it as an example. What do I experience in a week most of the time? You know what? These days, I experience a lot of frustration, I guess, of just being like, fuck, now I've got to do that. That's just kind of like the point that I'm in life. But I think I can kind of just deal with that. Yeah, when I wake up in the morning, there's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of, like, the negative ones anyway. There'd be a lot of frustration. There'd be a lot of kicking myself and just being like, hey, get off your ass. You just do that. But I don't feel these, like, I never feel any pity for myself. I don't really think about myself that much anymore. I think a lot about facts and things in the world. That's a huge, I don't know what. So, like, okay, a lot of interest, a lot of frustration, and then just bouted with a lot of moments of contentment and I guess, like, yeah, like, but this is the thing, like, and excitement. But I think that I was, like, forcing myself over many years to feel more excitement and contentment on purpose. And you can train yourself to just feel these emotions. That just, like, with the way that you think, the things that you think, all of these things are habitual. You can do exactly the same thing with your emotions. Your brain's just going to go, if you're an angry person, it's just going to go to being angry. So you can just rewire your brain to have the emotions that you want. And it's the same thing. What does Mislav feel, just as an example for somebody who's social? He would feel a lot of enjoyment. That's the main thing that he would have. Just everything is amusing to that man. Very childlike in that way. Everything's great. Everything's novel. That, I think, really works when you are making friends. Because on top of that, you're just interested.
Yeah.
You're just interested in what people are saying. And
Sure.
like any moment that you're in, you're extremely present because you're enjoying that moment.
Self-esteem, I think, can also come from how you perceive yourself and what you value. So if you're in a high school situation, for example, and the thing that's valued in the social circle there is how good you are at sport, how good looking you are, how many girls you're getting with at parties. and you're not doing any of those things, of course you're going to have low self-esteem.
Yeah.
But if you can alter the framework by which you perceive yourself in any given hierarchy, that goes a long way to changing your self-esteem. So likewise, if
you'd move out of that hierarchy.
yeah, that's
That's
too,
the other
but
thing. Like,
some
after a
people
while, you
don't
just
mentally
change.
move out of that hierarchy.
What do you mean?
So they're still, if they were really unpopular and low on the totem pole in high school,
Yeah.
they'll still feel that way for many years, potentially.
No, but like in your example of if you're in that hierarchy of just like, how many chicks have you fucked, bro? How much can you bench and shit like that? But you're not buying into that anymore, and you're kind of just like, these are all pretty fucking stupid goals, really, at the end of the day. Like, I'm aiming for something bigger than this. Like, you're just not interested in hanging out with them anymore.
Yeah,
you like
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
you shit.
Yeah. So you have, but sometimes you have to. That doesn't always happen naturally.
No.
You sometimes have to really look at, yeah, who's surrounding you in life. I mean, it's the same thing if you're in a really money-driven world and you have the least wealth. You're going to feel extremely insecure, even if you're the most jacked person there. But then you go to a personal trainer environment. Suddenly you're going to be highly valued because you're the most jacked. So it's about what are your perceptions about what is valuable in a person? And if you have low self-esteem, it's probably because you see yourself as having certain traits that are low and that are unworthy and not valuable.
Yeah, that's
change.
really...
You can change that. You can change that. Look at what you do have, and what hierarchy do you want to aim for? Do you just want to aim for this commercial, money-driven hierarchy where the richest and the biggest house is the most successful, valuable person, or do you want to aim for something else?
Because that's like that's the crux of if you would really boil down self-esteem, I think it's just that. It's low self-esteem is I'm not good enough. High self-esteem is I'm good enough. That's the difference.
Yeah. That's how you compare yourself to other people.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're comparing yourself to other people, but that's the whole thing. Someone who has low self-esteem does compare themselves to other people. Someone with high self-esteem doesn't. Someone who's high self-esteem is just running their own race. Yeah, I mean, like, obviously everybody will in certain situations. Everyone always does in certain situations, like, because all of these things aren't like absolutes, right? You're never going to be high self-esteem enough. Maybe the Dalai Lama or some shit is just so content that they don't.
They don't compare themselves to other people, but they might look at another person and say, I'm not below that person for whatever reason. So in a way, there's some comparison going on. So they might look at someone who's better looking than them, but they wouldn't. They would still compare those traits. So okay, that person has better looks than I do, but that doesn't devalue my worth.
Yeah.
So they're not. That's not necessarily a comparison.
Well, that's just a human thing. That's always going to happen. Like anything that you're in, you're just constantly. You know what? Ever since Jordan Peterson said that thing about lobsters and how they're like looking for dominance,
we're always measuring our position in any given hierarchy.
I know, it's fucked.
It's crazy. When you really observe that, it's really scary.
Yeah, and it is. Yeah, I mean, look, that was what the Blueprint decoded was. That it was just basically him just going into the lobster analogy for 4 days straight, but it's really obvious. I never noticed it before because I like going to aquariums. Every time I go to any city, I always just want to see what's going on there. And any time now that I go and see the lobster tank display, you see it in real time. The biggest lobster in the display will just like be walking around to the other lobsters, and you can see it arcing up, and then the other lobsters recoiling and going into the corner.
Yeah.
Happens in real time. Like it's because it was always just like, yay, lobsters, and it just moved on to the next tank. Now it's just like it is just a really good analogy of that. And yeah, I think that's the crazy thing about it it's a stupid way of looking at it as well, because I think just that in itself is very insecure of always just being in like a party and just being like, who's the alpha here and shit. Like alphas don't think like that.
Of course, yeah. There's a little practical tips.
Alphas are just like, yay, party. That's all they're thinking.
Yeah.
But I think that you kind of decide your own self-worth, and then it just becomes self-fulfilling prophecy from there. So if you're saying I can't make friends, it really just boils down to that root thought in your mind of I'm not good enough.
So then that gets embedded into your subconscious as well. So I'd recommend, well, not only meditation, but affirmations with the meditation. There's a lot on YouTube, got positive affirmations. You can even look at, there's so many that they'll even play on a loop while you sleep.
Yeah.
So they'll slowly go into your subconscious.
And people laugh about that shit, but like, just try it.
Try
it for a month. You've got nothing else to lose. You have no friends. Do it.
Fuck.
Dude, tough love though. You're the ones asking. You need to know.
Maybe that's why you don't have any friends, okay? You're not willing to try new things. Fucking pussy. No wonder you've...
Dude, tough but fair.
Do it. Trust me. If you don't want to do the affirmations, let those loops play while you sleep. I do that. Yeah,
it can't hurt.
It's the worst that could happen. Just chuck one on your phone. They go for 8 hours. Google, search in the YouTube, just positive affirmations while you sleep. There's so many of them. And they're really good.
Yeah. No, I agree, obviously. I think that if you're going to be doing that, I think it's more or less like, it's just kind of someone hammering into you why it's important to do those affirmations. You eventually will. I think another book that really touches on that is Psycho-Cybernetics.
And it will feel stupid when you do it to begin with. It'll feel very unnatural. It'll feel very cheesy. But they work. It works. It's the same as if you go to the gym, you might think, well, what is this? I'm just lifting at something. This is so silly. But slowly but surely, very gradually, you make tiny little gains each week. Those eventually add up. In the same way, you're not going to notice a difference.
And it's unnoticeable.
Exactly.
It's unnoticeable.
You're not going to notice a difference immediately, but over time, if you're doing it every night, then after a few months, you might start noticing subtle differences. After a year, suddenly you're a different person.
And it's the same thing as that is how advertising works. It's just saying the same brand over and over again. The same it's Mac time. I mean, when was that ago? That was like when I was 8. I still remember that jingle in your head.
Yeah, associate it with the positive emotions.
So, because look, this is the thing that people don't understand, right? Is that marketing is just using self-help techniques, but they're using it to push something to sell to you.
Wow.
But you can market to yourself.
I mean, it's religion as well.
Yeah.
You associate all sorts of those values with all the positivity of the love, the kinship, the community, the prayer. So then you're more likely to accept everything that comes with it.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely the negative downside of religion. But look, as always, I don't know, I find it hard to shit on religion when I'm always just thinking that it was the original self-help. It was, you can still see it to this day. Yes, Christians are much less critical thinkers than atheists, but they're also much more charitable and they're nicer people. And like usually in general, most Christians that I meet are less cunty than most atheists I meet.
I agree with that. Yeah. I think it's still important to add that caveat that.
But don't you think that
the ability to critically think? I think.
Oh yeah, super important.
Yeah,
really important.
Significant with atheists.
Because it's just like,
but not all of them either. Some of them are very emotional and irrational in the way they think.
Yeah. It's also a value judgment, though. Like if you're into religion, Christianity anyway, the core message of Christianity more or less is just faith. Like it's like it doesn't matter what happens, just trust in God. Just do what the pastor says. Like God has a plan for you. Put your faith in it. Doesn't matter how ridiculous it gets. You just believe in God. Okay, got that? Good. Whereas like
and just real quickly, like there's definitely some very deep religious thinkers out there. What the big issue is, which I think Sam Harris says this really well, is that if someone else has a certain ideology and is coming into a debate or a discussion, they're coming in knowing, hey, I could be wrong. I could be wrong here. I could learn something from the other person. Whereas if you take a certain religious text as the literal word of God, there's nothing ever that can convince you otherwise. because that is the
Yeah.
word of God. You can't go
Yeah.
into any discussion or debate there saying I could be wrong.
No.
So it's I do talk to Christians sometimes, they're very, very intelligent people, and they say, no, I'm definitely open to discuss. I'm always open to question the word of God. But are you ever questioning it that it could be wrong? The questioning seems to be, I don't understand it. I want to understand it better. That's why I'm questioning it. It seems to be like that, yeah.
That's why you would be a Christian in the first place, because otherwise you just question it too much and then you'd be out of it. But I think that what it teaches you instead somehow in that community or whatever.
So many good things. I'm not saying...
It's kind of like a big family. That's what a church is.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah.
It's a big family, and that's why I think that they're all, they all look out for each other. They all do activities together. You get this big social net, and as a result of that, I think that everybody in that community gets a boost of self-esteem, and that's why I think that they're like more centered in themselves. Like a lot of the times when I'm like attacking, dude, don't you think like when you're attacking like a Christian, most of the time they'll kind of just be like, yeah, anyway, and then they just kind of move on with their life.
These are worldly human emotions. And I know where my value and worth is, and my value and worth is with God.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what it is. I don't know. I'm just speculating.
Yeah, me too. As all, like
no, you're right. You're right. You can tell the ones that are kind of questioning it, though.
Of course.
They look like they have the weight of the world on their shoulders because they're questioning their entire world view. They're not just questioning a perspective they once had. But the ones that are fully immersed in it are really happy, confident, self-assured people.
And I don't think that that's the same thing with atheists. And I think that, like again, in general, like
not
atheists, because their whole thing is just being like, I like it, I like reality, but this is the other bullshit thing about it as well. You prod hard enough, you will find little blind spots in like everybody else of things that they're just being like, no, that's the way it is. They'll have the same arc up as like a Christian on something.
Oh, absolutely.
Most people, well, I don't know. I've met very few people that there's not one thing you can push their button on. I'm sure there's something on everyone.
Everyone.
Has to be.
No, I mean that's part of being human.
Yeah, okay, but like
I have a joke of it. Wait, I want to write a joke about that, like where everyone has a breaking point. Even the Dalai Lama, if you just push them hard enough, there's probably a point where he's like, "Get the fuck off me, cunt!"
Yeah,
it just hits you.
I wonder what it'd be.
One China, just fucking poking him.
No, because dude, I think that like with the China thing, he kind of just be like, yeah, I guess sure. Because that's his whole thing is just meditating on China and just being like, I hope Xi Jinping is having a good day today. Dude, that's what Buddhism does. It's like that thing of just being like, you mad? You mad? You mad? You know what else? It's like the same thing with Buddhism, how they were just saying that. To the Dalai Lama, I remember this, like some smug atheist went up to him, and this is why it's like not known as a religion, is because he just walked up to them and just said, actually, there's not 4 elements, and those 4 elements aren't even fire, earth, and wind anyway.
Did they have a lisp like that?
Almost without a doubt. It is some artistic license, but not much. Like, you know that guy had a list.
It's accurate. It's a very accurate portrayal of the average atheist.
But dude, you know what the Dalai Lama said? He was just like, oh, okay. I guess we'll just change that then. And then from then on, that was not the 4 elements. Like, they just accepted the periodic table from then on.
Wow.
It's constantly adapting to the times. So, like...
Same people.
Again, there has to be something that he gets to. But, yeah, it wouldn't be China. But, like, look, there'd be some little quirk that everybody has.
Eventually.
Just being like, your dad sucks or something. There has to be.
Sure, it'll be something a lot worse than that. Your dad sucks. That's the sort of thing that'd
be amazing at the Dalai Lama.
That
what
would
the fuck?
That would work in Bankstown. No, your dad sucks. The fuck you saying about my fucking dad? Imagine if I did work with the Dalai Lama. Like you say
the
all these
simplest insult.
You tell you like Buddha was a liar. All this to China, one China, kill all of you cunts, you bald fucks. And then he's like, I can sense that you're experiencing a lot of pain. And then you're like, your dad, what the fuck you said about my fucking dad?
Yeah, rips off his robe. Hold me back. And he has prison tax. Dude, I think that's the peak of comedy, honestly, is like some wog saying, what the fuck? That's it. Like, what is what the fuck? What is that?
That accent is custom made for comedy.
Yeah. It is!
how it even came about.
That's-
That's what I've heard, but
Dude, you take this
It's a
full loop. That's the
synthesis of-
reason I'd stay in Australia, just
Yeah.
for that.
that's a beautiful accent. I love it. And they're aware. They know it, and they just... Yeah, so what, cunt?
Are
Fucking
they?
just be fucking normal, bro.
Are they aware of it? Or
They
if you
amp it.
say,
I
like,
think
your
they-
accent is funny,
They amp it up.
so
you
they
know,
like
you know
it.
how Aussies, when we go overseas, oh yeah, I'm Aussie, mate. Yeah. I think it's the same. I think it's the same thing.
So when they're behind closed doors, it gets a little more
It
British.
feels unique. Imagine that. Yeah, group of walkers.
Can you get anyone?
When they're out in public, oh, you fucker, look at this man, bitch, what an ass. Then they roll up the window as well. I rather enjoyed her gluteus maximus.
yeah.
It was quite
Anybody
arousing.
fancy backgammon? Yeah.
Yes. I'm quite sick of Eljana.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got to wrap this up.
We do have to wrap
one
this up.
soon.
I'm just saying that I think that there is something to learn from Christianity in that, which is that I think, and this is like one of Tony Robbins' teachings all the time, is just that everybody is lying to themselves on something, so just accept that and accept that some lies are beneficial and some aren't.
We thought we all have our narratives.
You all have your narratives, and so you can create your own narrative. And so when it comes to self-esteem, you can program yourself to have high self-esteem. And it's just pretty much just that's the bullseye. I'm good enough for anything in life. Like people are just saying like, I'm not good enough for this job. Just program yourself to like, no, I am good enough to do it. If you have just that in your mind, you will move up. And you're thinking about it in your social situations and you're just like, oh, I'm not smart or witty enough to contribute to this conversation, so I'm just going to sit in the corner. If you just have that little thing of like, I'm good enough, and then you move into it. Because you know the other thing that you notice about people with high self-esteem in social situations, they say a lot of dumb shit. But like,
Say it with confidence.
say it with confidence.
What
But
is
the other
90,
thing is like,
90% of communication is non-verbal.
yes. And if somebody's just points them out on their bullshit and pays them out, they're kind of just like, yeah, that was pretty dumb, and they just move on.
Yeah, ability to laugh at yourself. I think that's one of the biggest, if not
trait.
the biggest, indicator of high self-esteem.
Or at least a lack of insecurity.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely that.
The ability to laugh at oneself and understand whatever groups you might belong to, be able to laugh at the stereotypes of those groups.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge indicator of high self-esteem.
And dude, you know what? Like, even though I think this point's been made a million times, it needs to be made one more time, even though it's like a very 2017 point. But that is the reason people hate SJWs. They clearly have low self-esteem.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, anyone who's perpetually offended.
Yeah.
There's a point where you
taking
stand
time out
up
of
for
their day to
yourself.
complain.
Look, if someone's lying or disparaging you or, just you're subject to slander, then a high self-esteem person would then stand up for themselves. But if it's a joke,
yeah, but it's
and it's
a
in
thing
good
of-
taste.
Yeah, it's a thing of boundaries. That's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, if you're that person, yeah, you're right. Like, that person allows, like, a lot of jokes to slip by and a lot of... Oh, man, yeah, we said we were going to talk about this a while ago. We might just do it for the next
but there
podcast
is
or
a
whatever. But
line.
it was that thing of, like... I don't know. I feel like I let a lot of criticism just of being in the game for so long just pass. But there's certain, like, there is those Dalai Lama things that are just like, what the fuck about... Like, there's those things.
Yeah.
That's still
yeah,
here.
I'm the same, yeah.
And
Yeah, that's true. We did want to... Yeah, I said that in the last podcast. We'll do the next one on there.
Yeah, you may as well.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Work on your self-esteem. That's the biggest thing to help you gaining friends.
It is that. I think that when you look at the guys that usually came, that were good with chicks, which is basically just another way of saying social skills back in the day, like well-rounded social skills in high school. Most of the time, they just came from loving households, or their parents were of very high status in society, so they kind of just like, they were just like, but I'm this person's son, so it was that.
Yeah.
And so that
a lot
was
of it
just...
comes down to the parents and the upbringing.
Yeah, but it was just like, it was just a more arrogant version of that same thing of like, I'm good enough.
Yeah.
But everybody else was just like, nah, I'm not good enough for her. Like, I can't chuck you Vanessa, I'm scum. Like that's how it works.
Jeez. Yeah. All right.
Anyway,
well,
thank
there
you
you
for
go.
your time.
Thanks for listening.
Yep.
Subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time.
Toodaloo.